BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series. Our daily look at an area football team, the key questions we'll be answering about that team on our August 21st preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we're talking about the San Saba Armadillos.
Yeah, we've got Coach Andreas Aguirre's Armadillos and a team that should be substantially improved this year on paper. They've got 21 of their 27 lettermen back from last year's 3-7 team, including 6 offensive and 9 defensive starters. But maybe one of the biggest keys this year for San Saba is they had a really good sub-varsity group last year, went 9-0-1 at the JV level, and have those kids coming back to reinforce those varsity returners. So I think this is going to be an interesting year after a couple of kind of lean years at San Saba. This has potential to be another playoff year for the Armadillos. I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, some questions to answer, and we'll get to those here in a little bit. But I think that Coach Aguirre is excited about this team, and I think he has reason to be.
All right, and with that, before we get going, we want to remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the bell so that you'll get notifications each and every time that Big Country Preps comes up with a new video. And also, we'd like to thank a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of KLAX 93.5 FM out of Brackenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, give Rob a shot at 254-559-2266. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. That is Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge.
And with that, let's jump in. Let's talk about some of the biggest questions facing the Armadillos this year. And I think the biggest one is how good can this defense be? Andres Aguirre is a former defensive coordinator. Defense is very important to him. His best teams have always played great defense, and this group has 9 starters back from last year's team, and then again reinforcements from a really good JV team that it comes in expecting to win. So I think this defense has an opportunity to be a strength, and I think it will need to probably be a strength if San Saba hopes to have the type of season that it thinks it's capable of. I'm just eager to see can this defense kind of return to the level that we've grown accustomed to seeing Andreas Aguirre defenses in the level they've played at.
Right now, just based on what we see on paper, my question for San Saba is what style of offense are they going to pick? Because they're not the biggest team on the block. Are they going to run over people, or are they going to spread the field and throw it around a little bit? The problem is they've got young quarterbacks. And at least on paper, it looks like they'll probably have to spread the field and get guys in space, and throw it, or maybe throw it around a little bit. But you have young quarterbacks, so that's the question. Are you going to try to run the football with a smaller offensive line, or are you going to go ahead and turn those sophomores loose, or those young guys loose at quarterback, and see what they can do? Otherwise, I mean, there's experience all over the field for this ball club, and they have a good skill set coming up from that JV team that won 9 ball games last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they bring to the table. They think they're going to be pretty good.
And one thing I think is going to be a bonus is I think Coach Geary has proven this, and then his offensive coordinator Webb Murphy, who joined the mix last year, has been a part of former Wiley teams that were also this way. That they embrace being multiple. Have traditionally done whatever they needed to do offensively, and had a good passing game, had a good running game, and embraced both. So I think they have an opportunity to kind of play to their strength, which I think is always a bonus at the high school level. But you are right. You talk about the experience all over the field. The one place they're not going to have a ton of experience is in the backfield, and that's I think that leads to my third question. I think that may be one of the biggest questions offensively, is what will they get from the quarterback position where Luke Tharp, a sophomore, is expected to take over. I think they think he's a talented kid. They think he's ready for that role, but he hadn't done it yet. So we'll see how that goes. And then in the backfield, they lost a really good running back in Ethan Gonzalez that they're going to have to replace probably by committee. They've got a couple of options there, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that plays out. A senior, Alex Estrada, is moving to the running back position this year. Then another sophomore, Jason Everett's a kid who they're expecting to get reps at the running back position as well. So what kind of production can they get out of their backfield from guys who have not necessarily done it yet? I think that's going to be an interesting thing, and it kind of leads into your kind of goes back to your question, which is what will they look like stylistically offensively, and how will they fit into that? But I'm excited to see what Webb Murphy does with that offense. I'm excited to see what Coach Aguirre does with his defense, and I think that this team has an opportunity to take some fairly major strides forward.
All right, with each team that we preview, we take a look at their schedule. And that's what we're going to do here with San Saba. We'll start with the non-district portion of the 2024 slate. They'll open with Grape Creek on August 30th. They will travel to Junction on September the 6th. They'll host their arch rival, and it is their arch rival, Goldthwaite, on September 13th. I'm telling you right now, those two those two teams, it goes right down. The ping pong teams don't like each other at those schools. And I'm not kidding. Then they go to Waco Riker on September 20th, and then they host Hamilton on September the 27th before having an open date on October the 4th, rather. And then they jump into district.
They jump into district, a couple of road games right off the bat at Johnson City on October 11th before going to Thorndale on the 18th of October. They get their first home district game October 25th against Harper before going back on the road to face Holland on November 1st before wrapping up their district schedule with a real toughie at home, Mason, on November 8th. So I like the schedule. I think it's an interesting schedule. I like that non-district schedule. There's no unwinnable games on there, but a lot of challenges. And then in district, I think after Mason, it looks like a wide open race. So I'm excited to see what San Saba can do with this group with this schedule.
All right, the game of the year for San Saba. We also take a look at what we believe will be the game of the year for each team that we preview. And I think there's a couple that come to mind right off the bat for this group and what they're facing this year. I'll let you go first, Dan. What do you think is the most important game for San Saba this year?
Yeah, I'm going to cheat and go with two and go with those first two road games right off the bat and to start district at Johnson City, at Thorndale. I think those are probably the stiffest competition for that number 2 seed in this district behind Mason, who I think is the presumptive favorite. They got to win one of those two games to avoid probably playing for fourth. I think if they can win one of those, especially that if you win your opener, all of a sudden you're feeling pretty confident. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. But I think those first two games to district are the big ones.
All right, I'm going to take the two of them. I'm going to take Thorndale on the road and Harper at home in successive dates. If they win those games, they're in. If they don't, then they're going to have to pull off an upset. They'll either have to pull off an upset against Johnson City, Holland, or Mason. Right now, going into this season, it looks like they're going to be underdogs in those three games. Possible upsets, yes, but very tough. So I'm going to go with Thorndale and Harper. If they win them, they're in.
Yeah, I think those are good picks. It's going to be an interesting district schedule, though. So I'm excited to see how it plays out.
All right, and with that, we're going to wrap up tonight's edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series. The San Saba Armadillos. When a quick reminder, August 21st is our big preseason football preview. Don't miss it. It's bigger than anything that you'll see from any media source regarding Big Country football.
And this year will be even bigger than it has been in the past as we add 5 new schools: Mineral Wells, Glen Rose, Graham, Toller, and Miles to the mix. We're excited to add those, and we hope you enjoy following our coverage throughout the school year. In the meantime, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, and we hope you join us again tomorrow when we move to Class 3A for the Kahoma Bulldogs here at BigUndryPreps.com.